If your employees are going to be using expense claims, then you will need to set up expense types for them to choose from. These are set up from the Data Maintenance tab here in Expense Types. Here in the demo system there are some expense types already set up, but when you get the new database there will be nothing set up. So you would then click Create, and let's suppose we want to create another kind of expense account, a type such as stationery. You must choose the chart of accounts. Nothing else is required here. And then you must choose an account. Now in Time at Work it's actually possible to set up ranges of accounts to permit various ranges of accounts, so that finally the finance reviewer could choose from that particular range, or even in some circumstances the employee, but not in this model. Which is why this is not a simple lookup. To make things a little easier for you, you can click on Display to show the accounts that have been set up in the system. We don't have, yes we do, we could use office supplies here, and I'm going to type in 504004. So that's a single account that will be applied whenever the employee chooses stationery. It might have been set up another way, such as 504 to 504ZZZ, which would then show the finance reviewer when he or she is ready to review and finally post an expense claim, would show him or her all accounts in that range. But most often, perhaps indeed always, you will select a single account and save. There is actually one more thing that is important. The expense claim deals with cash expenses and mileage expenses, or claims for allowances. Allowances are treated in this model as expense claims that are made for a specific amount, although it is possible, if you need it, for us to set up rules for the calculation of allowances. But in this model we have two alternatives. Either an employee enters miles or kilometers and mileage is calculated, or he or she enters a total amount that he or she has spent or wants to claim, and optionally a tax amount. So two alternatives, and here is where you specify, in this case, stationery, that the miles kilometer field is to be disabled in the expense claim. If you don't do this, it doesn't matter. You would not enter anything into this field, rather into these two, and it won't make any difference. But I think it's good practice to set either suppression or disabling of the miles kilometer field in the expense claim, or, and I'll show you that in the case of mileage, cancel here, we look at the mileage case, the suppression is the other way round, so that when an employee chooses this expense type, he or she would have to enter miles or kilometers instead of a value. So that's expense types. Just to go over it one more time, you must enter the name, which is the name that the employee will see when making an expense claim. You'll always choose this chart of accounts unless you're a multi-company system. You will set up an account code, and you will specify that either miles kilometers are to be suppressed as an entry field, or the other two. So that's expense types.